Well, joining us for more analysis now, also from Beirut, is Omar Nashabe. He's a criminal justice analyst and a former advisor to the Lebanese Minister of the Interior. Really good to have you with us, Omar. Firstly, I mentioned there the Israeli offensive on Lebanon is continuing for a third day. Hundreds of Lebanese have already been killed, thousands more displaced. What's your reaction to what's unfolding where you are right now?
Yes. Well, the Israeli attack on Lebanon has been going on now for has been intensified for the past 2 weeks. As your correspondent explained last week, there was an attack with the pagers on a large number of Lebanese. We had large numbers of wounded in the hospitals, and the hospitals were really under a lot of pressure. And now, starting Monday, there's a massive indiscriminate bombing of various areas in Lebanon. And this is creating a lot of pressure on the hospitals. And, the government is trying to respond. However, there are some serious challenges. So I start by thanking Turkey for the help that we just learned about in the airport. And I hope they will be safe, because the area in the southern part of Beirut is being bombed on a regular basis. And the objectives of the Israelis seem to be, they are not military objectives, they are civilians. However, the Israelis had published videos and information that behind these houses and these civilian locations, Hezbollah is hiding weapons. There is no indication whatsoever for this claim. This is a claim that seems to be like a pre-justification in order to create more massacres and to expand the massacres that they have been doing in Gaza for the past 11 months. With no actual result on a military level. The Israelis did not achieve anything, any objective of their military objectives. You see, they had claimed that their military objective was to destroy Hamas. They couldn't destroy Hamas. They had claimed that their military objective is to release their prisoners of war. They failed to do that. However, they destroyed all of Gaza, and they committed a genocide there. Now they are saying that their military objective is to return the settlers to the northern part of occupied Palestine. Well, that's not going to happen. And Sayyid Nasrallah from the resistance said clearly that he is not going to allow that to happen. The request by Hezbollah is very clear. It's to have a ceasefire in Gaza. Once there is a ceasefire in Gaza, that will lead to a ceasefire in southern Lebanon and on all fronts. The supporting front from Lebanon will not stop. And so this is a challenge between the Israelis and Hezbollah. Hezbollah is saying that it's not going to stop until there's a ceasefire. The Israelis are insisting that they will make the settlers return to northern occupied Palestine by force.
Okay.
The conclusion is nothing can be realized by military force.
And Omar, can I ask you now about the latest reports? The Israeli public broadcaster KAN is saying that the government there is preparing for a possible ground offensive. It comes hours after the Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz said that if Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, doesn't stop the rockets from being fired from Lebanon into Israel, it would also launch a ground operation in southern Lebanon. And the Israeli military spokesperson on Monday didn't rule out a ground operation. Do you believe one is imminent? And we also know that when they did so in 2006, that was considered a strategic failure. So what are you expecting?
Yes, well, the Israeli apparently is going through some serious difficulties, as they are not able, as I explained, to reach their military objectives. So therefore, instead of opting to move into a more diplomatic track, they want to expand the military track and actually move from aerial bombardment into ground incursion. A ground incursion will create more victims, more civilian deaths, more blood, more destruction, and will not will not reach the objective. If the Israelis' objective, as they announced it, is for the return of the settlers to northern occupied Palestine, then the only way to do this is to have a ceasefire based on the Security Council resolution that was passed on June 10, that talks about a three-stage plan for the ceasefire. And the Security Council back then, on the 10th of June, had said that that Israel had accepted this plan, but apparently the Israelis weren't truthful, and they added more conditions by taking the Philadelphia corridor, and that was not part of the conditions that were agreed to. And therefore, the Israelis apparently believe that they can reach their objective and they can create this entity called Israel that can live in this region with fear and murder and destruction and genocide. And that cannot be the case. You cannot build a nation based on terrorizing its neighbors. And that is what the Israelis keep doing by expanding the war. So therefore, any ground incursion will create a bigger war and will create less security, less stability for the whole region.
Okay, Omar Nashabe, thank you so much for sharing your analysis with us. We really appreciate it.